Last time, we successfully claimed the throne in the intranet, but a perfect lurker must never sever the target's original connection. That's why we need to configure forwarders. In this global config, we enabled recursion and set public DNS like 114.114.114.114 and Google's 8.8.8.8 as upstream servers. It means, if I don't know the domain, go ask the external web. We force a query for Baidu's address against our local host, 161 server. The key is this phrase, non-authoritative answer. It proves this machine is silently acting as a proxy, hijacking the intranet without breaking normal access. Completely stealthy. So what is the real danger of this setup? First, extreme stealth. We call it boiling the frog. Because external sites load normally, the target suspects nothing. This gives attackers ample time to launch targeted phishing. Imagine redirecting the company's internal login page to a fake server. Once they enter their credentials, the passwords fall right into our hands. Furthermore, we can hijack software update domains to distribute malware. When the server requests an update, it downloads our backdoor instead. Whoever controls the DNS controls the network's navigation system. Now, let's verify our ultimate goal, the targeted hijack. We use the dig command to query nsa.gov directly from our local 161 server. Pay close attention to the part answer section in the output report. It clearly states that the IPv4 address for nsa.gov is 10.1.0.80. As we all know, a real government website would never be hosted on a private internal IP. This proves our DNS spoofing is a complete success. Any internal traffic going to this domain will now be silently routed to our controlled server. Now let's do a deep dive into the realism of our fake DNS universe. We query the name server records for the target domain. Notice the AA flag. Our server claims absolute authority. It returns real Akamai server addresses, making the setup look incredibly professional. Now, let's look at the complete output for our mail exchange query. By running dig.nsa.gov mx, we ask our server how to route emails. Look at the answer section. It returns 6 legitimate military mail servers. To make our spoofed environment truly bulletproof, we must look at TXT records. We run dig.nsa.gov TXT against our rogue server. Look at the answer section. These Google site verification and MS tags are site ownership proofs, but the real crown jewel is this line, starting with V equals SPF 1. This is the SPF record. It acts as a strict anti-spoofing whitelist for emails. It tells the world exactly which IPs and services we're allowed to send emails for this domain. By meticulously copying these complex text records into our fake zone, we ensure that deep inspections by internal security gateways see a logically perfect, flawless infrastructure. Finally, let's simulate a classic reconnaissance attack against our own server. We use the XEF parameter in our command to request a full zone transfer. This is like asking the server to hand over its entire blueprint, including all hidden targets. But look at the result on the screen. Transfer failed. Why? Because a properly secured DNS server will strictly reject unauthorized bulk downloads. This proves our setup isn't just a perfect spoofing tool, but also possesses robust defensive capabilities. But what happens if the internal DNS server is misconfigured? Let's see how it's gonna happen. Let's modify the binned configuration to allow transfers. And run the exact same command. Boom! Instead of a failure, the server spills all its secrets. Look at the bottom section, the Auth server, the Bastion host, and the core LDAP directory. They are all instantly exposed. This is the infamous DNS Zone Transfer vulnerability. The attacker no longer needs to guess or scan blindly in the dark. One single line of bad configuration hands them the blueprint to the entire building. We've successfully dominated the local network, but what about the public internet? To make our spoof domain publicly accessible, there are 4 strict requirements. First, you need a real public IP, private IPs. Like the 10th of October 2010, 10 are invisible globally. Then, you update your zone file and open firewall port 53 to allow traffic. But here comes the ultimate roadblock. Step 3, domain registration and delegation. Can you just fake a public IP and trick the world? The short answer is no. The global DNS hierarchy is strictly built on trust and delegation chains. If you don't legally own the domain at a registrar, no root server will ever delegate authority to you. Even with a flawless local server, the global DNS tree will never point in your direction.
If we can't fake the global internet, how do real hackers achieve DNS spoofing? The golden rule is simple. Intercept the traffic before it ever leaves the building. Level 1 is local network interception. We use ARP spoofing or rogue DHCP servers. By dominating the local network, we force the victim's device to use our fake DNS. Level 2 is infrastructure compromise. We target the enterprise router directly. Once hijacked, we silently change its DNS settings to point to our malicious server. But the ultimate weapon is level 3, client-side compromise, tampering with a host file. The operating system always trusts the local host's file first. Bypassing all security, you can't fool the whole world. But to win, you only need to fool your target's local environment. Before we wrap up, I must issue a critical security and legal warning. The demonstrations in this video were conducted entirely within a closed, isolated lab environment. They are strictly for educational purposes to help us understand and defend against DNS attacks. Never attempt to spoof, hijack, or recreate government, military, or enterprise websites. Unauthorized setup of such sites is a severe violation of cybersecurity laws worldwide. It will inevitably lead to criminal investigation and severe legal consequences. Technology is neutral. Always stay ethical and always act within the law. That is why Matthew designed the first lesson to start with the internal bind configuration. Because in real-world operations, most high-value traffic hijacking begins with taking control of the intranet. Today we are here. See you next.